We both wearing the same clothes now.
Mm-hmm. Back down. Back up again.
Hello, Raleigh chick.
Hello out there.
Hey, Chris. I was thinking about you. I looked at
All right.
your phone number yesterday.
Deborah
Hey,
Ron.
Deb. Let us know if you can hear and see us. Can you hear my music? Hey, sis and brother-in-law.
All right out there with the motor car.
Oh, God. What that mean, motor car?
Yeah, CARR, they the cars.
Motor car.
Motor car. What did he say?
Yeah, he gave us a thumbs up. Hello, Tiffany.
Tiffany J. Tiffany Lee Lou.
The Raleigh chick said we're grooving tonight.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, our sweetheart Vincent Crenshaw made that music for us, so we couldn't get kicked off of Facebook for having it. And he's one of the best musicians I know. And of course, this is our dancing all-star over here. Anyway, you got ready?
Nope, I'm not ready. I'm
You're
still
not
dancing.
ready? You're still dancing.
Y'all ought to hit a step out there for let's see it.
You're a hoot, I tell you that. What I get my book?
Okay.
Are you ready?
Okay, Moselle.
All right. We're going to tune out here.
All right.
Okay. Okie dokie. We're here. Hello, Hattie. I'm glad to see you on here with us tonight. And Laverne, I need to talk to you, girl.
Bernie.
See how you're doing in Murrayville. Linda Langdon, I'm glad you're with us tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Hadn't seen you on here a while. You might have been on here, but we just never seen you on here in a good little while. Anyway, glad you guys
all
are
of you here
with us. And
a little bit windy out there tonight. Hold on.
Yeah, and it's snowing up north. And
yeah,
the weather's really.
And things are going well for you guys out there tonight. You're doing okie dokie. Rolling with the punches.
Rolling with the punches. Yes. I'm going to read this. I read it Sunday. I'm going to read it again. Good afternoon, Jill. Glad you're here, sweetie.
Jill Lee.
And it goes like this. It's a poem called The Oneness of God. And it reads like this. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one, Lord. Hear, O Israel. Hear, O man made of the very substance of God. You and God are one and undivided. Man, the world, and all within it are conditioned states of the unconditioned one, God. You are this one. You are God conditioned as man. All that you believe God to be, you are. But you will never know this to be true until you stop claiming it of another and recognize this seeming other to be yourself. God and man, spirit and matter, formless and formed, creator and creation, cause and effect, Your Father and you are one. This one, in whom all conditioned states live and move and have their being, is your I am, your unconditioned consciousness.
Okay. Now we are getting ready to dig in to some more of the mysteries of our true identity.
Good afternoon, Judy. Good afternoon, Lisa and Michelle Mabel. So glad you guys are joining us.
Now, the key to this thing, I'm beginning to find out more and more about it, is the recognition of our true identity, which can take seconds.
Yes.
But I know that there's some people that have been around the church for years, longer than we have, that has never heard what you guys have been hearing about recognition of our true identity, our eternal self. Now, we may be repetitive, a little bit redundant in some things we say, but we have to repeat it to kind of build a platform for us to talk. There are some people will never find this out on this round, but may have to find it some other way. That eternal life is what all of us are made out of before we come to this earth or these earthly bodies.
So tonight, I think we haven't collaborated as we often don't, but I think we're going to go in the direction of what is the I and how to know when you're speaking from which I where you're speaking from. So I'm going to start off by saying this. It's not about creating a new identification, which is an identification or an I entity. It's not about creating a new I entity, but dropping all the I entities that are not you.
Or that is connected to the I you.
Yes.
That claims to be the real you, but you begin to find out that everything that's connected to the I is not coming from your real self.
And I want to, if you don't mind, before you jump in, I'm going to give them just a quick list of the way the I is formed or constructed. When we say I am, we usually have it, we attach something to that I am. And so you can identify, that is what is called identification. When you attach it to something, I am, for instance, I can say, I am a woman. I am Black. I am a Negro or Caucasian. I am short. I'm kind of roly-poly fat. I can say I'm a singer. I can say I'm a writer. I can say I'm a scholar.
Look out.
Right. So I can say I'm a melancholy, or I'm a what do they call it? A type A. You're attaching something to the I am. That is called identification and attachment. And
you're snooty poo.
Yes. And then you can identify on a spiritual level too. You can say, I am advanced spiritually. I am spiritually advanced. I am knowledgeable. I am gifted. I am a very devoted person. And then you can go on into the social aspect. I am sociable. I'm friendly. I'm very educated.
I'm lighthearted.
I'm rich. I'm poor. Okay.
I'm hungry.
I'm a political person. I'm a Democrat. I'm a Baptist.
I'm a left brain.
I'm a holy roller. I'm a Buddhist. You can go on and on and on with the I am, the I, speaking from any one of these identifications.
Connections.
Or attachments.
Attachment, okay. Like a train on a track, you know. It got the engine, the I, but it's got a whole bunch of cars connected to it behind.
Yes.
And what's so subtle about these cars connected train, they use the air system through all the wheels in a car to make it act like it's one.
Mhm,
One unit,
mhm.
maybe 100. I've seen instead about trains having cars 100 to 200 cars and 16 engines, 16 eyes
Mhm,
pulling
uh-huh.
all them hookups
Each car is an
is
identity.
an identity. There you go.
It is.
But they run on the same track.
They're all on the same track, but
Now,
they're
girl, you hitting something
attached.
now.
They're attached
Oh,
and connected.
I like the way you cook your cake, baby. You baking it fine, pretty good. That's all right.
If the I is unattached and not identified, when
Mm-hmm.
it's an unattached I,
Mm-hmm.
it is, I'm going to say it like this, it's the closest description of I is the God that sees, but is not moved by anything that it sees.
Mm.
So you, without any attachments, identifications, is the closest thing to God that is seeing everything but not attached to anything.
Mm-mm. That sounds like it's a case register. You can rest your case on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's like calling I to the witness stand to testify.
Mm-hmm.
You be an eyewitness or a character witness.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to have somebody sitting on the stand to testify
Mm-hmm.
to the I.
So what you're saying is that when we identify with all those things I just said and
I.
more
Mm-hmm.
and more,
Mm-hmm.
then there are things in our lives, people in our lives
Mm-hmm.
that solidify that identification and keep it sustainable,
Mm-hmm.
where we can continue to feel like I am that.
We would not ever in the regular Sunday school manual and all of the teachings and some of the spiritualized information that we have never heard of anything like this. We've never heard of anybody talk about the I. And Jesus said, Peter, who do men say that I, the Son of Man, am?
Yes, yes.
And he said, thou art the Christ, connection to the I. And
he knew
said,
who the I am was.
but then Jesus began to talk from his same I and said that he was going to go to the cross, be crucified in 3 days, and buried, and he's going to be resurrected. And Peter began to say, no, his eye connected up, same eye, connected up to a different caboose and a different car. Yes. And Jesus had to adjust his eye.
Yes. In fact, he identified, not so much identified, acknowledged where the I was coming
That's
from.
the key. Recognition of where the I information was coming from.
Originally, when he said thou art the Christ, that I was coming from the purest part of himself, which was the Father. That's why he said, flesh and blood didn't reveal that to you, but my Father, which is in heaven.
We always been told, born in sin, shaped in iniquity from our mother's womb. Born in the I, I've said before in the classes, a baby, when we come forth, have no recognition of being a self at all.
They have no attachment to anything.
We didn't.
Right. That pure I am.
That engine
comes out of the womb.
That's right.
With no attachment to anything.
That engine, if there's anything it's attached to, is mama.
And if I've heard of people saying that children come out of the womb having already been programmed, and that's because of the parent. The parent may have put something in the subconscious of that child, but originally that child comes with a blank slate.
Wow. Well, what's so amazing about this miracle identity that is always and always have been the real us, it even after we come out into the manifested finite world of the sense world, that I that is the real us is still there and you can't do surgery and pull it out. You can't drown it out. You can't shoot it out. You can't run it out. You can't burn it out. You can't even cuss it out.
It's the same I, but it swings like a pendulum.
You can't cuss it out or curse it out.
Yes.
One person called me on the phone and said, Reverend, sorry, somebody's trying to bring a work voodoo and witchcraft on my land and my property. And somebody said, somebody trying to work a root on me by putting eggs up under my sink. And I told him, I said, look, if you get your eyes straightened out, you go down there under that sink and see them eggs down there, pull them out and get you a frying pan and fry 'em. Make you some scrambled eggs.
Somebody gave her free eggs.
Yeah, I said, well, now somebody said to me again, said, I'm sorry, I looked in the back of my car and I kept smelling something. Look back there, there was graveyard dirt back there. And I said, well, why don't you just clean the doggone thing out? It probably need a bath anyway. Lord have mercy. I said, that stuff don't work on you if you know who you really are.
Exactly.
It's knowing who you ain't.
Exactly.
That
I'm
causes
going to
the
read a
word.
scripture if
Go
you don't
ahead, help
mind.
yourself, help
And
yourself.
this is in Hebrews 4 and verse 15. It says, for we have not a high priest. Well, before I read it, I'm going to say this, that I'm going to substitute the word sin. I'm going to substitute it with the word identification.
Mhm.
So instead of saying sin, I'm going to say identification. Now, this is how it reads. For we have not a high priest which cannot be touched with the feeling of our infirmities, but was in all points tempted like as we are, yet without sin.
Mhm.
Now, I'm going to read it again,
Mhm.
exchanging the word. For we have not an high priest which cannot be touched with the feeling of our infirmities, our
Mhm.
weakness, our inability to
Mhm.
get things
Mhm.
done,
Mhm.
our
Mhm.
inability to
Get-
cope, to
cope
get beyond our
from
own
A to B.
problems. But then it says, but was in all points tempted like as we are, yet without identification and attachment.
Mm. Now, we're talking about the obstacle course.
Mhm.
We're talking about coming into this world imposed with limitations from a dimension of worlds of the universe that we are all made out of. That's what knocks my socks off and turn them crooked. If when we find out that everything in the universe is being observed by our infinite eternal self. Oh, that's too much information.
And that's good. That's good because it goes right along with what I just said.
Okay.
The closest description of I, the pure I,
Mhm.
is that the God who sees but is not moved by anything that it sees.
And that's us.
That's us.
But something that's moved by everything that is seen
because there's an attachment.
Now, how somebody ask question?
So when Peter said,
I thought you get ready to slap.
No, when Jesus said he was going to the cross, and Peter said, no, that be it far from you, you cannot go.
Mhm.
And Jesus said, thou savorest of things that be of man, get behind me, Satan. It was because Peter had formed an attachment to who Jesus was in his fleshly body and didn't want to lose that.
There's a little girl lived down 3 houses from us, and she's an adopted child. Jackie, I look at you and your baby, and the family down there, the father.
Her name is Emma.
Emma. Met us out in the street. She's riding a bicycle with her mom and daddy. And
she's only about 3 feet tall.
Yeah, Emma said that the family says Emma just loved Mr. Sawyer, and I come by there walking with the dog, and our neighbor just right for dog walking, and she'll come to the doorway, and we can't get close to her because of the damn panic. But she loves to talk to us, and she wants to come up to the house and do things for us, but she's not thinking about the damn panic. She's just a little girl. That little baby that you're holding in your arms is like holding the Christ child in your arms, and the Christ spirit, eternal self, is its mama. You are holding yourself in your arm as eternal. But in order to see this, you got to disconnect from being physical mama to being spirit, eternal spirit, working on both sides. Jesus on the right side, Jesus on the left side, working it down through the middle of the road and observing both sides at the same time, and yet remaining as the eternal self.
So what I hear you saying, love goes a lot further if there's no attachment with it.
Yes.
You can love without an attachment.
But you know what I like is when eternalness jumped the fence. Catherine Kuhlman, the healing lady we talk about sometimes, she said, you can't put a fence around God, because if you do, he'll jump it every time. And that is truth. The truth of you is not the paper and the ink. The truth of you is not the quotations. The truth of you is spirit.
So when we say that you can love without attachment. What I'm saying is this. I'll give you an example. You've seen parents, you heard the term, the parent was living vicariously through their children. That means that that parent had attached their own identity to that child, their own self-worth, their everything about themselves was attached to that child. So they pushed that child to go in a certain direction that will make them feel proud, them feel good. And if that child did not go the way they wanted them to go, then they were devastated and felt embarrassed by their child's actions.
Now, we asked the question, what do we do with these identifications? Well, first of all, recognition is one of the first things you have to run into. Recognizing is not have to understand this. Recognition is also involved in finding out that these things are ingrained into our awareness or ingrained into some patterns of life conditions.
Yes.
These patterns may take some time to deal with, but at least you know how to return home to the recognition of your true self.
Yeah, and Jill, I'm going to post what Jill said. She said she sees that because that's Professor Jill. She sees that in her college students all the time.
Yeah.
Where they're living for their parents.
Yeah. And see, you may cut the power of a fan from turning, like you turn your fan on in your house with a switch. You may turn the power off, but the fan,
it will keep turning.
And it will keep turning. And you must recognize or be aware, even though the power is cut off by you finding out who you are, give it some time, because eventually the fan is going to stop. That's the way the mind works.
It's running on inertia
energy.
That time. Yes.
And your true self, the key to this, Miss Judy, is recognition. And recognition has so much power. The seeing of this.
And I'm going to post what Judy's question was, because everyone doesn't know. When you said Miss Judy, they didn't see what you saw.
Yeah.
So Judy said this. So what do we do with these identifications that are a part of us? Be them without attachment?
Well, no, you don't be them. You just remain as you are. But let's start over. Let's just say they be like they be you. And then when you find out who you are not versus who you are, they may remain there like the inertia in the fan that's turning in your ceiling. But you done found out that you have cut the power of this motor that seem to give off the ideal of habits, patterns, and conditions. And if you give it enough attention to your true identity, it will eventually power those things down. It's kind of like a natural, spontaneous working of your eternal self. Now, I have to understand, your mind is going to always come back. The left brain is going to always try. And let me tell you something else, Miss Judy. I found out that when the ego and the mind finds out that your awareness is stuck into working in your true identity, eventually the mind will let it be known somehow or another that all it's looking for is inclusiveness.
Now, remember, Judy, also, that was a good answer. But remember also, Judy, that this pure I that you are is the same pure I that God is. God is watching but not involved.
That's right.
Watching but not involved.
That's you.
So identity is when the I attaches to that which is being perceived and then believes that what it sees, it is that. And so you will have all of these different roles, those things that I mentioned, my gender, my race, my color, the talent, skills, education. Oh, you'll have all of those different identifications, not so much identifications, but I entities
Mhm.
played as roles, but you don't have to actually be
Mhm.
those things
Mhm.
to do those things.
Mhm.
So when you have the question come, what do I do with these identifications? That again is another spiritual I entity that is disturbed by what it's seeing.
Mhm. 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 Now, some of the cases that we run across in the mind and ego, some of these things stuck so hard,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and they have been watered by attention and energy from others.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the only power that can break those things that are stuck in us is the deep depth awareness of our true identity. This is the key.
Yeah.
It's not eradication like we always been taught in church, crucify this, stop doing this, stop doing this, stop that. And it is constant recognition. It is constant catching, becoming aware, seeing that this it comes out of your mouth, like Jesus called Peter, and what was coming from his eye was that what he was saying was Luciferic.
Right.
And that Jesus didn't get bent out of shape. The key to this thing, Ms. Judy, is reaction. Notice the reactions that come. What happened? Notice these moods and mood changes that are going on inside. But at the same time, you are being introduced. You have been introduced. You introduce your awareness to the real you that does not react.
Okay, I'm going to address that's very good explanation. I'm going to address what Judy just said.
Mhm.
I am a woman. I am a nurse. I am a seeker. Okay,
Mhm.
remember at the very beginning we said that when you say I am, identification and attachment is sticking something on the back end of that.
Mhm.
Before you stick that on the back end of that, you are just pure essence. I am.
Mhm.
Not anything, but I am.
Mhm.
And so when the statement says, when you say I am woman, that is the I swinging to the identification of being a physical body.
Mhm.
It is not a physical body, but it
You're
swings.
speaking
It
from
swings to the identification
your words.
that you
Mhm.
are identifying yourself as a physical body, which is female. Then when you say I am a nurse, then it's swinging again to its belief in the role it played, that it is then that role that it played. That is an identification with that. Now, I'm not saying you don't have to start saying I'm not a woman, I'm not a nurse. But when you say that, when the I swings to that, it's identifying itself as that rather than I am. It's identifying itself as the nurse when it is the I am. So the nurse was the role that
Right.
physical body played with the essence that you are inside of it. Okay, when the I says I am a seeker, then there has to come a feeling that there is not something that I haven't found yet. So I am now identifying with a feeling and a sensing that is not true, because we can never be disconnected. You have already found, because when you find who you are, you have found who God is. So while you can say those things, there will be attachments if you identify yourself as those things.
One time I had a train.
And I hope that made sense.
Yeah,
I hope
it does. When I had a train layout in my basement before we moved up here years ago, and I had 100 cars and 100 engines. Now, in my investigation in the train, they have an engine, which is an eye, that stays in the yard. It's called a yard switcher. And it's localized, and it doesn't do long hauls like from one state to another with 100 or 200 cars. It just switches cars around. Now, each time this switcher engine hooks up to a line of cars, maybe 6 of them, then it will take those cars and resort them and classify them. This is like the eye switching from one car to another. The eye is still there. All right, to give you another example. Just say you wake up the next morning, you say, I need to go to the grocery store. Well, your eye is connected to the grocery store. Then the next thing you say, I need to get some gas in the car. Your eye is connected to the car and the gas tank. The next thing you say, well, I need to go and get some clothes out of the cleaners. That I is connected to cleaners and clothes. Then the next thing you say, well, I need to go to the drugstore. Then the I is connected. Same I, but it's got umbilical cords, strings attached to those different subjects, different objects.
And then after doing all of those errands, you can say, I ain't nothing but an errand boy.
Yeah. And then when you say, I am tired, then you just
Identify
connected
yourself
I
as that.
with your body and your feelings, your emotions, and your memories and your attachment. And the I go say, well, I'm going home. I ain't going home. I'm going home to take my shoes off. I is connected to shoes and house. And
Yeah.
you say, oh, I am so glad to be home. There it is again.
Yes. So I want to make a distinction between identification and acknowledgement.
Mhm.
See, it's very okay to say, acknowledge that I am a woman.
Mhm.
I acknowledge that I am a nurse.
Mhm.
I play the role of a nurse, and I acknowledge that I am seeking, but I am not identifying myself as those things.
But
There's
you
a
do
total
know,
difference.
you do know finally, Miss Judy,
Mhm.
you found out. You done found out. Now, I want to say this to you. There is a place in here where you come to the end of the search.
Mhm.
Because the reason why I
Mhm.
say that, baby, is
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
the search is you want to, I mean, just be honest with it.
And well,
You
and the-
want to find God.
And the search is an I entity.
Yeah, it's an I
the
entity.
seeker is an
Yeah,
I
it's an
entity as well.
And you're really looking, and be deep down in your core, you're really looking for home, and home is your true identity, and your true identity is what we call in church the Holy Spirit, God, Jesus, whatever you want to call it. Okay.
So as a person, we have these identifications, and it's okay because the person is it is consciousness. It's just a contracted form of consciousness. So in order to experience the expansiveness of what you truly are, what God truly is, you must have a chance to let go of the identification so that you can feel the freedom.
And out of this spontaneous awakening to your true identity comes guidance, direction, God's will, God's purpose, and everything is in a package.
Yes.
The package is, and I was telling Miss Tiffany one time, and she's on here, the package is your true identity.
So I is not body.
Nope.
I is not mind.
None of those things.
I is not soul.
None of those attachments.
I is not person.
None of those.
And not even dare say I is not spirit.
That's right.
It just is.
Isness.
It is. And when you are the I am, just a pure I, you're just being.
Listen, your eternal I has not seen anything so deeply rooted in personhood that cannot be brought into subjection to it.
Yes.
That's the grace of the mercy of your eternal self.
Exactly.
Glory be to God.
Exactly.
Ah, God, I tell you, I could cut a step and make summertime come around. I'm telling you, yes, Miss Judy, that's what I say. I went into a building one time down in Raleigh at a near-death forum. I had to speak, and the first thing I heard when I got in the building was the universe say yes.
And it was such a loud yes in our hearts and in our souls till I went home and I wrote a poem called The Gentle Place. The gentle people.
Yeah, you could go home and make you a good old yes pie. Good old yes pie with dumplings and chicken in it, and just tear it up and enjoy all the yeses because God has never said no to you.
So now the real, or I'm gonna say real, the purest I that you are, that I that is unattached, has no rules that it lives by. It stands alone as the observer without any investment. Without any investment.
That's right. That's right. You are the love. You're the life of God, and you can't be anything else. These derivatives, these imitated.
Those are things that we constructed.
Yeah.
Or I should say our life experiences constructed.
Let me tell y'all something. You know why the Capitol incident was so powerful in the news? When you get a bunch of eyes
identify,
and now understand this now. Understand, Cain killed Abel. We talked about this. You can't kill God.
Right.
You can't kill the I am.
But you can kill off everything that is attached to it.
Now here's my point. That creative ability is so free us. If we are us, it free. that we by default create a lot of things.
Yes, we do.
And what
We
the
do.
ego mind does is block out the awareness of you seeing what's making these things happen. Those people that
These are our creations.
yeah,
aren't they?
these things in
Mhm.
DC, yes, they that's the God type of ability,
Yeah.
creating those incidents, and all they need to do is stop, throwing brakes in the middle of traffic and say, wait a minute, this
Yeah.
is not me doing this.
Right.
This is my
Right.
derivative. That's not the real me, and shut it down.
Exactly. So those are all those things we named as identifications are just representatives of what you truly are. Now, I
Mhm,
like what
mhm,
Pearl said, and I'm going to
mhm,
put it up here.
mhm.
She says, if the I is single, and that's coming from
There
your
you go,
scriptures,
single. Mhm,
without labels,
mhm,
the whole body is light.
mhm, mhm. That's right.
Full of
That's
light.
right. That's
Full of
right.
light.
Now, once this is seen, it's going to cause an upheaval, because when you got something that's been in control, manipulative, and witchcrafty, that definition of manipulation and control. The mind has been manipulating and controlling things around you, giving off the idea that it's the real you. It's not. Your heart, the real you, the essence of you, is a thinker that thinks way beyond. You are beyond the ego.
Yes.
You are
yes.
beyond the monkey mind.
Yes.
You are beyond every and any attachments of the mind.
Yes. Now, there's a scripture in the Old Testament where it says Lucifer said, I will be like the Most High. I will exalt myself beyond the stars. I will be like the Most High.
Mhm.
So that is the Luciferian principle, to imitate. We are not talking about imitating that you think looks like God, but actually being that.
Mhm,
So we, a
mhm,
lot of us, especially in church, and we've heard
Mhm.
this all the time, I want to be more and more like Jesus. No, let Jesus live as you being
Mhm.
you.
I think is that Miss Judy up there at the top? No, that's not Judy at the top. She said, "I am playing different roles."
That was
Yeah.
Sinette.
Sinette.
Sinette
Yes,
said that.
I
I already had put that up
yeah,
there.
I am playing different roles. I is so powerful.
Mhm.
Now watch this.
Mhm.
I is so powerful that whatever it attaches itself to, it creates
Yes.
the presence. The presence of I.
Oh man, it
creates.
gives you a whole
It actually creates.
cinema.
And you don't have to quote nothing. You don't have to repeat anything.
It'll build a story around it.
It'll do. I tell people like this. It will build on a lie.
Mhm. Mhm.
Everybody that's born in this world that don't know who their true identity is and walking in the false identity is a compulsive liar.
That's true.
Let me tell you, the power of I is so powerful that you could go out back, let your dog out, and if you take your eye and call the dog, and the dog realize that your eye attachment is a lie and you didn't mean it when you went out there, he won't come to you.
You have to give him a pork chop.
You have to get
Make him come.
I lie like it make I look like a carpet, lying like a dog.
Now, I'll give you an example. I'll use, you said dog, so it made me think of this.
Mhm.
When our baby girl dog, she gets sick. Let's say she
Mhm.
throws up or whatever.
Mhm.
I noticed this is what she does. She'll play, and then when she starts to feel bad, she'll start slowing down, and she just get really, really still.
Mhm.
And then when she lets it all out,
Mhm.
she goes right back to playing.
Yeah.
She has no identity that says, "Oh, I'm sick."
Mhm.
There's no attachment to what has happened to build a story. Oh, I'm sick. No, she just goes on and leaves that behind.
I can tell you something about her. Her identity is so physical that when we take her to the groomer and they cut the hair too short on her Cadillac and her Volkswagen back there in the back, that hair started to stinging and burning back there. And before you know it, she got both legs up in the air and she's scooting on the floor.
Like she's erasing numbers.
She wrote some number. I said, well, baby, she wrote some number down and didn't add them up right. And she's trying to erase them out to correct them.
Mhm.
And when she do that, she'll jump up and run over in a corner and lay
look
down
at us.
and look at her. She said, help me. Now, one day I was walking her out the street and she started walking real fast and she stopped and turned around and looked at me. I said, what is it? So I checked the back end. It wasn't nothing going on back there. And I patted her. She did find it. She stopped again. I said, what is it? And awareness brought to my attention, check her feet. And what had happened, she went off in the yard and come back, and she got an acorn between her toes. And it was bugging the heaven and the hell out of her. And so I went over there and I pulled that acorn out, and she just jumped up and down with gratitude. She started talking and she said, "Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you."
Now
Thank
you realize I watched a documentary once of wolves, how wolves behave in the wild, and they do opposite of what our dogs do.
Mm-hmm,
Our dogs are being conditioned for us to help them.
mm-hmm,
So she will, if she loses something, she'll look at us like, "Come help me find it." Just like she stopped, like, "Get this thing out of my foot."
mm-hmm.
But in the wild, they figure it out on their own because they're not conditioned to have somebody come and help. Now, I want to read something that Linda Langdon put up, which is really good, bears witness to what you just said. She said, "It reminds me of when I retired and lost the identity of my job title. I struggle with what and who I am."
That's it.
Because when you're identified with that,
that's it.
That loss devastates you.
Yep.
It devastates you. So that's the danger of identifying attachments.
Now listen to this. This is going to be really good when I say this to you. I had to learn an awareness from trial and error how to recognize what was coming attached to my eye.
Mm-hmm.
Here's an example.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
When this dog had something wrong, I had to learn when awareness was showing itself as a problem with her body or something wrong with her feet. I've been around her long enough. I practiced being with her. One day this week, the other night, I sat there for about 30 or 40 seconds. I sat there and stared at her in her eyes. I stared at her so long till she sat there and went to sleep, sitting in the floor, sitting on her backside. She sat there and I stared at her. And I didn't bat an eye. I just looked at her. And I spoke to her mentally and psychologically. I spoke to her, "What are you saying to me? What are you showing me?" I had to learn the signals and the emblems and all the recognitions of awareness between both of us to recognize what she wanted. I said, "What do you want?" She couldn't talk. Then I heard my inner self say this. There is a dimension that you will go to and will work in where dogs and animals speak your language telepathically.
So I want to say this while you were talking, you mentioned there was a signal.
Yeah.
There was a signal.
Glory.
You will know when your eye has swung to the opposite side of that you are.
That's right. Without
by
labels.
A signal, a sign of your emotions becoming distraught, your thinker becoming crazy and chaotic, confusion, frustration, all of that is it swinging to that identification with whatever it is it's perceiving.
Yeah. See, and listen to this. The more you give recognition to your eternal self, the more you give that recognition, the spontaneity of communication takes place. All this waiting on is your attention.
Yeah.
When I went to the drugstore, this young lady who is the hostess in the drugstore who help people find what they're looking for, she said, "Oh, Mr. Sawyer, good to see you." I said, "How you doing?" She eyes were batting. I said, I knew something was going on with her. I knew the signs. And she said, "Oh, I'm having a rough day." They said that my grandmother just passed, and my another member of the family is sick, and I just come over this COVID-19. And when she said grandmother, I said, "Grandma on the other side can help you better now than she could over here." And the reason why she could help her is because they communicate from the other side, just like the Holy Spirit of God through intuition. And I told her, I said, "Grandma is going to help you." I said, "You're getting ready. The reason why you're going through this," I said, "something is getting ready to break through for you, and you're going to know it." Then all of a sudden, the grandmother on the other side gave me a signal to indicate that to her and this girl in the store that I was communicating with grandma. Grandma said, "Tell her about me investigating or being a teacher before I left my body." And I said to the girl, I said, do you know something about your grandmother and teaching school? She lit up and she said, yes, she taught children in school and in Sunday school. I said, we'll come together again sometime down the line and I'll tell you more about what grandma's doing on the other side.
Yes.
That's the way
That's
you
great.
practice this.
That's great. So,
Okay.
so whatever the pure essence that you are, perceives, it can be worn as an identity. That's what happens. So now the signal is very slight. It's very slight. It will alert you. And I wrote in my notes here that the signal, the eye of the eye opening by recognition. It's the eye of the eye, the seeing eye, opening the eye, the seer of the eye, opening by recognition. And then that comes from a field of grace that surrounds you, that is you. So that is when you actually have this pure recognition that, okay, I'm lost in the mind.
David said something. I mean, in Matthew's 22:44, I got here, said, the Lord said unto my Lord, sit thou at my right hand till I make thine enemies thy footstool. Now, one thing I picked up about the spirit part, the Lord speaks to Lord, from one Lord to another. When you catch on to this, the more you catch on to your Lord identity, I am, you hear your Lord identity speaking and communicating intuitively with the Lord self. And the reason why it's like this is because from one Lord to another, not there's two Lord, but it just seems like it is because of the I call it the distinguishation of the mind, is because we are still in, we have this treasure in an earthen vessel. So you have to understand the limitation of the earthen vessel. So what your God identity does is communicate with that part of him that is unlimited.
Now, I want to speak to something that Jackie asked, because I know this is a kind of a, I think a lot of people have this question. It says, are you saying that intuition is always God speaking to you? Now, I want to, before I answer if it is or not intuition, I want to say this, Jackie. The only time God has to speak is when I'm believing that there are two of us. I'm going to say that again. The only time God has to speak to me is when I'm believing that there are two of us.
That's good. That's good.
Otherwise, my guidance comes from intuitive wisdom, intuitive clarity that just rises up. And then I say, oh, I know what I should do.
It's a knowing.
Yes.
It's a knowing.
Yes. It's not a voice.
And you don't have to, it doesn't have to be verified. The Lord said, that's what got our prophets off about DC. Because the Lord said, and they want everything to be the Lord. Everything is already the Lord when it comes down to life, edification, and wholeness, and love, and fellowship, intuition. I mean, it's peace.
I want to speak to that about the prophets, the evangelical prophets, because a lot of people are saying they were wrong, they missed it. Well, let me tell you what I know from an experience I had last night. I'm going to go through all of it, but what happened with the prophets, the evangelical prophets, is they felt something intuitively, very strongly about Trump, about our previous president. And that feeling that they had was correct, but they misinterpreted what the outcome was going to be. The actual, based on what I had happened to me on last night, that I won't go into personally, Trump was there to do what he had to do to bring the United States to where God wants the United States to go, not where God wants the United States to be as Christians, but where God is taking this nation and this world. So he played a role, and he played it very well. He was chosen because of the way he is. And so now there's no reason to resent him.
That's right.
But they missed it because they misinterpreted the signal that God was using Trump as
And that's
a
what Jackie's talking
battering
about here.
ram.
Yeah, that's right.
As
That's
a battering ram.
Mhm.
And that's to bring about a certain outcome. Now, based on what I experienced last night, that death blow has not finished.
No,
and that's where the prophets misunderstood. They felt he's going to get another turn. No, it's saying that death blow that God is dealing to the nation is not finished.
That's right. That's right. Now, the key to this thing is getting through. The key that got Jesus out of the grave was his true identity, the Christ self. If you're going to ask the question of how to find out the difference between the ego and the true identity, intuition, you'll have to go through the experiences of trial and error, because there's some things that have to be taught. There's something that we are not allowed to discuss about the privacy between your eternal self and your true identity. It is a God encapsulated function, and you'll know it. He said, my sheep hear my voice, another one that will not follow. You are still in good hands, so just relax. If you can't relax, it's okay. You're still going. I'm going to tell you like this: you're not going to miss God.
In that scripture, Jackie just asked another question. Well, reworded her first question. She said, I guess my question is how to recognize the difference between
that's what I'm speaking
the
to.
ego speaking. And that's what you were just talking about. In that passage where Jesus and Peter were having this conversation about him going to the cross, Jesus acknowledged or spoke about where he was speaking from, Jackie. He said, the first time Peter spoke, he said, thou art the Christ. He came from the place of his divinity, where he was speaking beyond his physicality. And the Father spoke as him and through him. And so Jesus acknowledged, you flesh and blood didn't reveal that to you.
That's right.
But my Father which is in heaven. But then when Peter said, no, you can't go to the cross, Jesus made a very distinct, he made a distinction there. He said, thou savorest the thing that be of man. So whenever we're caught up with our human conditions, that's ego.
The God self is not slack. When it says slack in promises, let me tell you this. Do you know that in your God eternal identity, everybody, now I want you to hear this now, from A to Z, from Genesis to Revelation, and some other information is downloaded into the beingness of your eternal self.
Yes.
You have 24/7 promises built into your true identity. All you need to do is go on to that area. I'll tell you what, it makes me want to get up. Which way do I go? I want to find. I got to get to my in here. It's in here. It's in here.
It is.
It's in here. What's in here is out there.
So I'll give you another example, Jackie. Linda just said this to me. She said this in the comment section. She said, good stuff, Tony. I found myself looking to see if anybody was going to validate what I said. That I recognize is ego.
Okay. Okay.
Because it's only interested in how it's being perceived.
That's what got these prophets in trouble.
Yeah.
Wanting validation.
Yeah. So I have to, even though I acknowledge it now, what she said, I have to not pay attention to
Jesus said his judgment was not from men, but it was of God. Meaning he was validated. He had become so proficient in his intuition and that identity that he didn't have to have anybody else to pat him on the back and say, this is me or this is not me.
Now, it makes me feel good. Now, I'm not going to lie.
It does.
But if I allow myself to get attached to it, I will then look for that every time I speak, and I will end up speaking just so that I can get those accolades.
You hear people say, test the spirit by spirit. Look, I'm forgetting that. I do not have to go to my wife to look on her finger to ask her, where is my ring that I gave her when we got married? And if I do, I'm not going to find her there. What am I supposed to do? Go have it? go shipwreck, bottom up, and going out there in the street and get crying
Because I gave them away.
because she don't wear them anymore. Where's my rings that you don't wear? You ain't married no more. I don't think you love me anymore. Up your nose with a rubber hose. Go find you 50 balls, golf balls, and a 50-foot water hose and suck every last one of them through it because that ain't holding no water, y'all. Your bucket got a hole in it. Forget about the bucket. Forget about the golf ball. Go ahead on and trust and relax. Take a deep breath because you're in good hands and it's beyond all state.
So I want to read these notes that I had. This is from way back, but I wrote this down as I was having all of these self recognitions and stuff. I is not trying to be anything.
Okay.
I is not searching for an idea.
Wow, I like that.
It's not searching for anything because it doesn't feel as if it lacks.
Mm-hmm.
I is the stateless state. And when I sees, all is known. And that's what Oliver put up there. You will know it. I is not personal.
That's the job of the eternal self.
I never speaks of itself. That's another way to detect the ego.
See, ego wants to get in there and try to figure out if
it's all about
which one it
itself.
is. Yeah. But take a deep breath now because you're getting ready to see pure guidance.
So I, as the pure essence, the I am, speaks to
Glory be to
I
God.
there where you are, your
Glory
I, that
be to
I,
God.
that is the same I am. It speaks to I about I.
And it's not, and this I is not in losing or gaining. It just is.
So Antoinette is just a ghost.
I'll tell people all the time that the ego is a ghost with a bad toothache.
So Antoinette is in the process of disappearing.
Lord have mercy. Everybody wants to put a label on what this and what the ego is, what it's not. But as you relax, it is the boss man's job to show you and to mentor you. Your teacher is inside who you are, sitting right there, listening to itself, talk to itself through this machine.
All I can say about myself that's true at this moment is I am, and anything else is I am here. That keeps it. There's no attachments with that. I am, and I am here. But as what am I here? As what am I here? Am I here as a body? Am I here as a Black woman?
Okay.
Am I here as a wife? Am I here as a spiritual teacher? Or am I just I am here?
God, this stuff is so good. This is good. This is good. This is good. I'm telling you, just give me another cut of that old fresh apple pie, baby. Cut it, put some chocolate ice cream on it, and let's go to town. Sit there and get happy. And you know what? What's so crazy about this thing? You be sitting there eating that apple pie and that ice cream, and you start to cry.
What you gonna cry for?
Well, you're crying because of the joy of finding this information out. Makes you feel so happy. You just cry. See, you have to cry for happiness. You got to cry because joy. You just cry because you don't know what to do with it. It is so rich and so fresh and so real. You can't do nothing but just throw your hands up in the air and say, Lord, I just think, and you know you're talking to your inner self when you say, Lord, I know now I'm talking to God inside of everybody in the universe tonight. I know. I don't have to hear nobody say, well, you need to check this and see if it's God. And I ain't checking nothing. I done checked enough. I done checked for 52 years and I done checked out. And I am settled. The dust is settled. It is now time to enjoy this new home awareness.
And that is coming home, isn't it?
That's
coming
it.
home.
That's it.
That is
Listen,
coming home.
You guys, you have made our day tonight. You have made our tonight today. It is a wonderful, wonderful time of the year for us to get together on a Tuesday night and talk about the eternal mother lode, the place where all the gold come from. We are now downstream mining the stream for the gold that will never come to an end. No end to this mother lode. Big chunks of gold are begin to reveal itself into our strainer in the stream. The stream is so clear that we can see the gold. Matter of fact, you don't need anything else but reach down into the stream with your hands and pick the gold up. It's chunks of it coming to us tonight.
Yeah,
Glory
it
be to
is,
God. I
it
thank
is.
you. Glory.
It is.
I thank God for all the sages and all the people that are teaching it tonight all over the universe. I thank everybody and every person that's tuning into us that we know and don't know. I thank the ones that are listening to us on YouTube and all over the tubes everywhere. Thank you so
Thank
much. From
you.
planet to planet, heaven to heaven, dimension to dimension. We're speaking right to it because we are now seated in the right position of our eternal self. Thank you.
Yes, we love you guys, and we want you to stay safe.
Yes.
Pastor is going to be having his eye surgery on Thursday.
Yes. And
And
I'm
so,
I'm under quarantine right
yeah,
now.
right now he's quarantined for his surgery,
Mhm.
but we're both okay. But you may see him the next time on Sunday. He might be wearing a patch, or he might have a red eye. So just I wanted to let you guys know in case that startles. I don't want it to startle you.
Yeah.
But he is going for eye surgery on
Mhm.
Thursday.
And this one right here,
Yeah.
here. Thank you for the
He's gonna
support.
fix his eyeball.
I'm gonna take the eyeball out and put a new eyeball in it. I'm gonna be on the ball. And in the old days, you say I'm gonna be balling the jack. When a car come down the street, it rode in and stooped up real good. So that cat is balling the jack.
Also, I wanted to thank Jill for posting up how to give. And it also is on the screen as well. And
Yes.
you can hit the links that she's given you in the comment section. And I thank Sister Chris for putting in there how to use the contact form to become a part of our contact list and get emails from us when we
Yes,
send them
and
out.
those who have on the last Sunday past that gave and helped us out, we thank you
Yes.
for all of that. We thank you for
And
Bill
thank you-
and Lisa and
thank
all
you
of
for
them.
giving to
I'm trying
What?
to think his name. Oliver and Yolanda.
Oliver.
Yeah.
Oliver is
Yeah.
getting ready to do something great, and I'm sure he's going to promote it. So you
Okay.
guys need to keep in tune with him as well.
Mhm.
Him and Yolanda, they're getting ready to do some really good things, I
Mhm.
think. And
Keep your smile now.
and so thank you so much for giving to Cornerstone.
Thank
You know,
you.
Cornerstone still gives us a housing allowance. So thank you guys for committing to do your tithes and your offering, and keep that up for us. Even though we don't have a building, we're still a virtual church.
Mhm.
And we thank you so much for tuning in to us tonight. We'll see you again on Sunday.
Okay, until then, happy trail to you.
Happy
Until we meet again.
trails to you.
Until we meet again.
Happy trails to you.
Till
Keep
we
smiling until then.
Happy trail to you.
Till we meet
again.
again. Bye.
Bye-bye.